Is this Rick Barnes' last chance to make the Final Four? I say yes, because I think it's a perfect assemblage of talent. Caleb disagrees. Here we go. Today's tough question brought to you by Banks and Jones. We'll have that question. It is up on the poll on the YouTube page, so you can vote now. We encourage you to do so. Off the Hook Sports, hit like and subscribe.
Today's tough question. Boom. You heard that. Now take it. The Dave Hooker Show.
All right, Caleb, here we go. Go ahead and tell me why you don't think this is Rick Barnes' last chance to make the Final Four. He will be 71 this summer. I'm curious what our audience says. We'll get to the poll question here momentarily, but today's tough question is for you and me. What do you got?
Yeah, so I don't think this is Rick Barnes' last chance because I think Rick Barnes has a good solid 4 years left in him. Now, I don't think he'll have the same chance next year specifically because next year Rick Barnes is losing Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Meshack. Those are 2 4-year guys that he thoroughly, fully developed in the system. He's not going to have any seniors next year that he developed over a 4-year period unless Zakai Ziegler gets another year of eligibility, which I don't see happening. So I think Rick Barnes is just he's out of luck on that one. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's his last chance. You know, he's got Felix Okpara, he's got Bishop Boswell. Those 2 guys could be in the program 2 more years. And then you're talking in a couple of years, also JP Estrella and Cade Phillips are in the program, could be in there for a couple more years. So you back those 4 players in, you could look 2 years down the road. And once again, Rick Barnes has 3 guys that have played for him for 4 years and another Okpara who played for him for 3 years, not to mention the new talent he could have, because we're forgetting this. In this era of transfer portal basketball and NIL, it actually, and I've written this a lot, even though Rick Barnes is 70, I said he's going on 50. It favors what he wants to do. He likes to develop players. So now he can go, rather than the one-and-done 5-star route, he can go the route of finding a one-and-done transfer who has 1 year of eligibility left, who just needs to develop that last little bit of his game to try to become an NBA player. And he's going to fully buy into Rick Barnes' coaching, which, as you know, Dave, a 5-star freshman that's a lottery pick is not going to do. Why would they accept being coached hard in college when they know that they don't even think they should be in college for this year?
You mentioned 4 players that could be long-time guys, and you pretty much said this with your statement earlier. Rick Barnes has to coach 2 or 3 more or 4 years for you to be right? I mean, he's not going to replace Ziegler and Jemai next season and have as good of a basketball team. So you're pretty much saying by your prediction that it's going to be 4 years. I will go ahead and make a prediction that out of those 4 key players you mentioned, at least 1 transfers, just because that's the nature of the sport. I don't have any intel. I don't have any inside information, but that would be my concern. The one thing I don't want to see Rick Barnes do is hang on too long. I think this team is perfectly made in his image. Zakai Ziegler is perfectly made in his image. And I want to see what happens this year. And if he stays and he makes another Final Four, great. I'm rooting for Rick Barnes because he's a great person. I don't typically I'm pretty objective, but I'm a little subjective with him. I want good things to happen to him, and hit like if you agree with that, and make sure you're subscribed. But Caleb, that being said, I think if he doesn't make the Final Four this season, I think the most likely scenario, as much as I hate to say it, is that he never makes the Final Four, coaches 3 or 4 more years, and you look back at his tenure at Tennessee, and you say, yeah, man, he had that one really good run where he got to a couple of Elite Eights, couldn't get past Purdue and possibly Houston, but then he fell off at the end of his career, maybe hung on too long. That's worst case scenario for his legacy, correct?
Yeah, but that's a pretty good worst case scenario for the record. There's been and
right, if he were to make a couple more Sweet 16s, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, and I guess where I'm landing on this is that, okay, let's say 1 transfers. So he has 2 to 3 guys that are in his system for 3-4 years. Dave, let's think about a starting lineup this year, just this year.
Yes.
3 of the starters are their first year playing for him and their transfers. That's how quickly true. Rick Barnes can reload.
Okay, I agree with you that if he wants to, he can. Assuming that, physically he's all good. General Ursa says, I believe this is his last chance. Plus, he was contemplating retirement last year. You have to factor that in as well. I was told by a source in the room he was very, very close to hanging it up last year.
Yeah, and then I've heard that he kind of all but admitted that because he basically said Zakai Ziegler kept him out of retirement. He said coaching a guy like Zakai is why you don't want to retire. was his exact comments. But at the same time, I think if he wanted to, he could still hang around. I mean, again, Rick Barnes, Dave, you're really underestimating how easy it is to reload through the transfer portal now in basketball, particularly with a coach like Rick Barnes. I mean, he could get 5. I'm not. Are we really putting it beyond a team in the near future to go get 5 transfers and go win a national title with 5 transfers?
I think that's a little heavy. I think that's a little rich. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think you saw this year Tennessee try to plug in 3 transfers.
And it's worked.
I don't know that Darlington Dubar has worked.
Well, no, that's not who I'm. No, the 3 transfers are Igor Milicic, Felix Apparel, and Chaz Lanier.
Well, yeah, but you have to factor Dubar somewhere in there, correct?
Yes, but you said 3. And when I said 3, the 3 that they tried to plug 4, but they got 3 to work out.
Well, that kind of undermines your point that you can go out there and get 5. I think it's a supplemental thing. I don't think you can build a team around the transfer portal, can you?
I mean, look, John Calipari has a national championship on his record from building a team around one and done 5 stars. If you can do it around one and done 5-star freshmen, why can't you do it around senior laden transfers?
All right. What's our poll question? Let me think about that, and I may retort. But our poll question is what?
We're going to say, is this Rick Barnes' last chance for a Final Four? 53% say yes. It's all. Sorry, I'm not trying to tease.
Wait, the number. Today's tough question brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. Banks & Jones. All right, so what's our poll question again, Caleb? And you can give the results if you don't mind.
Is this Rick Barnes' last chance at a Final Four? And man, they are going at each other. It's close. Now 52% say no, he's got time, even at 70. 48% say yes, it's all lined up. I'm with the 52%. And also, does Rick Barnes really want to go out knowing that he had a title caliber team, but he just got hit with a bad break of JP Estrella's injury and Cameron Carr transferring? Like, honestly, and I just want to throw this out there. If those 2 things don't happen,
I would lump that together with facing a generational type of college basketball talent last year in Zach Edey. I mean, he's not going to be great in the NBA, but that guy was a tough out for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, no. What I was talking about though specifically was this year with where was that? Oh yeah, with JP Estrella going down and Cameron Carr transferring, and Darlington Dubar having a personal family issue. Dave, I mean, Rick Barnes has the number 2 seed in line to go to potentially the Final Four with 3 players not working out for him the way he anticipated at the beginning of the year.
No,
like that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I just wonder how much longer he wants to do it. When you look at guys that have retired early, and David pointed this out, Jay Wright, Tony Bennett. I don't know that Bennett was early. Jim Larinaga. I mean, at some point you get tired of this, especially if you don't have Zakai, your main guy right there with you, your Spock to your Captain Kirk.
Well, Tony, the people that were just named, they've always been guys that specifically want 3 to 4 year guys. So I don't think Rick Barnes has ever been somebody opposed to having 3 to 4 year guys. 3 to 4 year guys work best under him. But I think this was Rick Barnes' flaw even when he was at Texas. One of the things that held him back, Dave, was he was willing to recruit 5-star one and dones. And I don't think he accepted the fact that he's not a good fit for 5-star one and dones. And they're not a good fit for him because they don't want to be coached hard in college.
No.
At all.
Those guys, those Calipari teams for Kentucky, I mean, they just look like they were, I don't know, stoned on Xanax or something. Their body language all around off the court was just awful.
It was like, just to point out, Dave, who were we kidding with the new one and done rule that these kids need a year of college experience before the NBA? For who? It's not like these kids actually went to class. It's not like they cared about being in college. You know, they were all looking like, why are we here for a year?
Yes. Dylan says calling Edey generational is a stretch. I don't think so with the way I phrased it. Is a generational talent in college basketball, not a basketball generational talent. There are 320 Division I teams in college basketball, something like that. 300 would have a tough time stopping Zach Edey.
Yeah, there's plenty of generational college basketball players that aren't great in the NBA. I mean, Christian Laettner's a generational college basketball player. I mean, Bill Walton may be the greatest college basketball player of all time, right?
Yes.
I mean, now I don't think he probably could have been a Hall of Famer in the NBA had he stayed healthy. He may still be, I don't know, but like he was never no one's going to accuse Bill Walton of being a top 30 NBA player. He's the greatest college basketball player of all time.
Yeah. I want to reset the poll question, and it's based off of this to some extent. As Daniel says, Rick is chill and relaxed. I think he's our coach another 2 or 3 years and will have us balling until he goes. He's made a good job for the next coach. Tennessee is now a better job than before. Very true. Let me ask you this, though, Caleb. If you had a bet, I'm going to go to extremes. I think extremes is a great way to prove a point or lack of a point. So I'm going to ask you this. Rick Barnes is more likely to retire after this season or coach 5 more years.
I'm going to go 5. I'm going to go 5.
I would have to go retire this year.
I think Rick Barnes is 70 going on 50. I think he's younger than like we talk about this Rick Barnes versus Bruce Pearl all the time. I still think Rick Barnes could outlast Bruce Pearl. I think he's in better shape.
No, he is. I will tell you this, though. The older you get, and you'll find this at some point, when something goes wrong, it's not just a bounce back sort of thing. So if something were to go wrong with Rick's health, and I hope that's not the case, it could mean he decides to cruise on, right? Things that go wrong when you're 70 plus tend to go wronger, that's not a word, than when you're 20, right?
Yes, but okay,
Have you started to witness any of that just in your mid-30s? Because I can tell you at 51, recovery is a different thing.
Not really yet. I will say that. The only thing I've really witnessed now is when I work out, I actually have to stretch more than I used to have to stretch. That's about it. Like I barely stretched when I worked out, and I was fine. And now I'm like, if I don't stretch, I'm tight the next day.
Wait till you get 50 plus.
Well, okay. So but here's the other part about Rick Barnes. I mean, I want to bring his faith into it real quick. Look, he just got that guy Troy Henderson, the point guard. Will West told us this is something he was thinking last Friday when Will West was telling us about some things in Rick Barnes' mind. Dave, I think Rick Barnes genuinely believes it's his calling to develop players like Zakai Ziegler and Troy Henderson. He believes like that's literally what God wants him to do.
I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah,
I do. I think more so than winning a Final Four, the development of his players is what gets him up in the morning, day in, day out.
I agree. And seeing them develop not just as players, but as people and just what they become. I think there's nothing that makes Rick Barnes happier than seeing what his players that he coached are after they've left. That's what he cares about the most.
Right.
And
now to the Troy Henderson point, it's a 3-star guy that was going to Fordham. I mean, that's not a major pickup. It's not like he just picked up Allen Iverson.
No, he just picked up Zakai. What was Zakai Ziegler? A reclassified, unrated recruit that nobody saw coming out of anywhere.
All
like
right.
That's who Rick Barnes likes to coach.
Dylan says we're wishing nobody's going to turn down Allen Iverson, though. If Allen Iverson
Rick Barnes never turned down 5-star recruits.
Okay.
And by the way,
yes.
I think Rick Barnes actually would have been great for Allen Iverson, too. But that's a different story.
Dylan says we're wishing upon a star trying to get Barnes to stay 5 years. He had pretty good coaching at Georgetown, though. I wouldn't say that he didn't. Vols win says if he gets to the Final Four or wins a natty, he's out. Let's address that really quick. Do the results matter in his decision? I really don't think they do.
I don't think they do. Rick Barnes is in it for the results. Like, you got to deliver results for the university, but he's in it because he likes coaching, guys. He likes teaching. He likes developing. He reminds me of, I've told you this before, Dave. He reminds me of David Cutcliffe for basketball. You were around David Cutcliffe a lot. If it wasn't for his health, he'd still be coaching, wouldn't he? And David Cutcliffe, I'll never forget doing an interview with him one time. You know, most offensive coordinators and coaches, they talk about like the amazing play they dialed up here. You told me that Fulmer still talks about that one play he dialed up as his first year as offensive coordinator, right? In 89.
Yes.
And they love to do that. And I'll never forget talking to David Cutcliffe. And he said, and he was just kind of asked, like, what's your favorite part about coaching? And he said, I love practice. I love it. I love everything about practice. Like, he loves it more than the game. He loved it more than X's and O's. He loved working. Am I right on this, Dave, that David Cutcliffe loved working with people in practice more than anything else?
Yes. Yep.
That's Rick Barnes.
Let's go with a pick one. So it's pick one. You have to pick one. Rick Barnes will retire after the season or coach 5 more years. Let's change the poll question. David says Ja Morant was a 0-star with South Carolina as his major offer. Dave, he went to Murray State, same level as Fordham. I'm not saying that couldn't happen.
He really shot up, didn't he?
Yeah, that's good because he's got guns. So that's the rarity, right? No, nobody's thinking Troy Henderson's going to be Ja Morant.
Yeah, no. I mean, Ja Morant, Steph Curry, like, guys, it's recruiting in basketball is like football. Look at the NBA. Most of the kids were 5 stars or European superstars. One of the two.
Well, you can also grow. I mean, I don't know about you, but I grew 2 inches after high school. So,
and that's actually
2 inches tall, by the way. Go ahead and plug that question in.
Okay. Anyways, here's what benefits Rick Barnes the most, and this is the truth. Like you just said, this is what happened with Chaz Lanier. Chaz Lanier grew like how many inches, and that's when he got signed by Tennessee. The transfer portal era allows people who are stars at smaller colleges that didn't get recruited to top colleges out of high school to then spend 1 year after they hit their growth spurt in college to go play at a big time school. Does that make sense? And Rick Barnes is the type of coach that's going to get those guys because they know Rick Barnes will help develop them the most of anybody that they sign with. So
go ahead.
If this was 1988, Rick Barnes would have gotten Scottie Pippen out of Central Arkansas before he went to the Bulls. He'd have gotten a year out of Scottie Pippen.
Okay. That seems like a leap.